May I ask, Dan and Martin, are you both experienced in this?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I've been doing this for 30 something years.
Oh my
Martin, I
gosh.
think, has been for 5 now. Is it Martin?
Maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All
Yep.
righty.
So what we have here is three screens that you can all see. One is Dietrich, so that's the timing software that we'd be using. ACA Live is the software we use to send data to the website to show results to the world. And then this little black screen at the top here is to mimic what a display board would be showing for during a race. So what we're going to go through today is setting up Dietrich up to starting the running of the race. We'll go through a little bit of running a race, and then we'll switch from run 1 to run 2, and then run a little bit more of a race, and then export the data for use for the running of the results. So what we need to do to start is we need to go to File, New Race. On the desktop of the computers at Craiglieth, we have on the desktop a 2020 races folder. If there isn't a 2020 races folder, create one if you're one of the first people running a race at that hill. As of next weekend, we'll probably won't have any hills that don't have it. So as you can see here, we already have a couple races that we have from last week. So our nomenclature, just to make sure that we have all of the information as part of the race file name so that we can pick and choose which races, if there's a problem that we can go back to, is we put the date. So we say 2020-01, today is the 9th, so we say 09 underscore, and then the hill. So that would be Comet Big John, but for here it's going to be test. And then what the race is, so a U14 or a GDHL, but for right now I'm going to say test race 2. And then we hit save. And now we get into the actual setting of the race parameters. So what the race parameters are is a bunch of setup information to make sure that the race will run correctly for moving forward. So on race day, you'll know what the discipline is, whether it's a downhill, GS, Super G. So we'll say this is a slalom, and we'll hit OK. How many runs are there? 2 runs. All the races that we run are 2 runs for at Craiglieth. Start method will always be individual, so that's having someone start and then they finish, and it's not, you don't have 2 people on the hill at once.
Racing against each other at the same
Yes,
time.
racing against each other.
There
at the
will
same
be
time.
multiple people on the hill.
Yes. So then we hit OK. Do we run this race with intermediate times or speed traps? The software has the ability to put intermediate time sections on the hill, but at Craiglieth we don't run with
That's like mid hill.
Yep, yeah. It takes a lot of bodies and a lot of coordination to get that to work, so we don't run with that. Is this a para
Without the
event?
software, we would have to set up another set of eyes on the hill.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right, so it'd be like another set of finish eyes, but they'd be set halfway up the hill or at some point on the hill, and then they'd be fed into the final equipment.
Yes.
And it's just too much work and effort. We don't do it.
And you need to have someone watching, sitting at those eyes, making sure that they arm and disarm that those finish or the intermediate eyes, so that it's only the racers that we get pulses for.
Yeah.
Is this a para event? No, it's not. So enter race start interval. So race start interval is a timer just beside the racer in gate, and that gives you your sort of countdown for when to start the next racer, and just making sure that you keep the tempo of the race going at the correct time. races at Craiglieth, it's anywhere between 20 to 35 seconds for a race start interval. You can leave it at 30 for right now, and if need be, it can be changed during the race. So the next two are maximum and minimum times that a racer should be on course. What that does is it will change the color of the racer while they're on the course, and then the computer will beep and change the color when they've finished if they're below the minimum or above the maximum. So it's just another check to make sure that all the racer data is correct and that you don't have an accidental false finish or something to that effect. So I'm just going to say 1:10 for the maximum and 45 seconds for the minimum. So the next two are delays on when Dietrich will accept another start or finish pulse. So the delay required for start pulse means that once the wand opens, the wand can be opened and closed as many times as you want within the 5 seconds. And
why is that?
So if you have a racer start and then the starter closes it, but it doesn't actually, and it pops back open, you don't want to start another racer. So this limits the number of start pulses that you can have within a predetermined amount of time. So
it's not uncommon to have the start wand bounce and get you get two start signals, in short period between them, and that would, if you didn't have this, it would start. The clock would think that there were two racers starting, and you'd have two people on the hill. Yeah. So this just ignores it for that period of time.
Yep.
All right.
So this is the same thing, but for finish pulses. So finish pulses, it's much shorter. So we have it as a 0.3 of a second. And so this helps make sure that snow doesn't affect it or other parts of the racer's body going over it doesn't quickly in succession have multiple finish pulses. So are we interfacing with ACA Live? So this is live timing. So all the races that we do at Craiglieth, we have live timing, so we say yes. So now,
and just as a note, we will be running two computers, an A, which is the primary system, and a B system, and it's only the A system that communicates with ACA Live.
Yes.
Okay. So if you were setting up the B system, you would say no to that question.
So if so parents that want to see how their kids do, they don't actually have to be present. They don't have to be looking at that screen on the,
right.
Yep.
Billboard.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Grandma in South Africa can watch the results of the race as it's going.
Yeah, cool.
So Dan brings up a good point. So what we're doing right now is we're setting up System A. System A talks to ACA Live to send data to live timing, as well as it connects to the display boards to send data to the display boards. If at any chance,
B is backup?
Yes, B is backup. And if we come into a point where System A is a complete failure, we do not care about sending results out to the internet or to display boards. We just need to make sure that every racer gets a correct time. So we don't care about showing people race results. They can look at that at the end of the race at the on the results page.
And can that be sent after the fact?
Yep. Yeah. So we
crucial.
Gather all of that data into an export file, and then that gets sent to the race administrators, which print the results.
Okay.
So ACA Live will be on System B computers. So I'm showing this on one computer, but these would be on two separate computers. And this shows IP address. So that's how we indicate which computer we want to be sending data to ACA Live to. Because
I thought that was just the A computer.
So A computer is Dietrich.
Okay.
And ACA Live would be on the B computer, but because I can't show you two computers on a GoToMeeting, I've combined them so that we can see all the information.
Yep.
So
So
you
that's the
want to
number
put
that goes in.
the IP address of the ACA Live Manager PC. So you would go over to System B and see the IP address. Mine has many because of my development computer, but System B will only have one IP address. So I would type in 192.168.1.127. Make sure that you're
The
putting
dots.
periods instead of commas. We've had some problems with that in the past. So then we hit OK. So now we're talking about categories. So what a category is a category of racers. So at minimum, we have two categories. One is a forerunner category, and the second is the racers. So we split male and female racers out into two different DTRIS files. So at Craiglieth, we only ever have two categories. So it would be a female, so you'd have the male or female racers in one category, and the forerunners in another category.
And the forerunners check the course.
Sorry?
The forerunners do kind of like a trial run.
Yes.
But they're
Correct.
not racers in that course, right?
Correct. So the forerunners are the last trial to make sure that everything is working correctly for timing, also making sure that all of the course is set correctly and that everyone within the race sort of has an idea of how their job's supposed to go and make sure that everything's working correctly. So we'll be running with two categories. So for this example, we'll have male racers and then our forerunners. So we hit OK because we want two. So this is where we can add our categories. So what we'd like to put in is the bib numbers. So you'll get the bib numbers from the race administrator or from the file that's provided for import for the racers' names. So the file that we're using for testing has bib numbers 1 to 39. And then it has a bib 99. So you can add in individual numbers, you can add in ranges, and that allows for us to keep all of the bibs set up correctly within DTRIS. When we are running, our standard for running a race is that category 1 will be racers, and category 2 is for your forerunners, just so that we don't have to think about which one we picked at the very beginning of the day, and is this number 1 or is this number 2? So once we've added the racers' bibs, we can say category 1 is done. Are these bib numbers padded? So we've gone away with padding bibs, so we always say no to this.
What does that mean, padded?
So down in the depths of the timing software, you can only have one bib 1. So if you have two sets of bibs 1 to 100, you have to add a number, pad that number so that you're not overlapping racer bibs. So you would have bibs 1 to 100, and then you would have bibs 101 to 200, but those would be padded by 100, and then during the actual race you don't see any of that information, but it's just for configuration purposes.
Well, actually, no, you do, because when you do have that second category, the bib number comes up as 201 on the screen.
Oh yes. Yes.
Right, so yeah, it'd be nice if it did ignore it, but it doesn't. It actually, so the situation that this sort of addresses is one that we don't use very often or ever anymore, is where you could have more than one racing category. You could have the boys in one category and the girls in another category. And if the boys ran 1 to 50 and the girls ran 60 to 100, then that'd be fine. You'd have, the numbers would be distinct. But what sometimes happens is you have the boys have bibs 1 to 30 and the girls have bibs 1 to 50 or something like that, right? So because there's 2 number 1s and 2 number 2s and 2 number 3s, the program would get confused, right? So that's why, when you set up the girls or set up the second category, you wouldn't put them in as 1, you'd put them in as 101, right? And that padding would be the 100, right? You've added 100 to that number 1, and that's what your padding is. But we, just to make things simpler, we if we do have boys and girls racing in 2 different, if they're not running together, then we set up 2 races.
Okay.
Okay, and we would switch between.
Do they tend to race separately, male and female?
Yes. Most of the time they race separately. The going downhill league, which you'll see a lot of during the year, they run together. So there's only 1 category. But for most of the races that we do, boys and girls run separately.
Okay.
Yep. So
thanks.
Then it asks, Dietrich likes to confirm a lot of things with you. So it asks, is this a forerunner category? So the reason why it asks if it's forerunner is because a forerunner category, like we said before, doesn't show times to the outside world. So Dietrich is smart enough to, even if your display board is on, it will not show those times to the display board.
Yeah, but this is a no.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, are you sure that it's not a forerunner category? Yes. So this is where we add the codex. So the codex will be provided in a email during sort of before the weekend of the race. It will have a format of nat, last 2 digits of the year, dot, and a number. Depending on the type of race that you're doing, it might be a little bit different. But for right now, because we're doing a test race, I'm just going to create a test codex.
So most races, other than club races, most races are designated. They're tracked by some association. Either it's FIS, in Switzerland, or it's the Canadian
Canada.
Alpine Canada or something like that, right? And in order to set up these races and to have them registered and stuff, they're given a name or a number, okay? And that's what this codex is. It's basically just a code number.
Who provides this codex?
So Jill or myself will be providing the actual codex. So what will be given is the Friday before the weekend, or a little bit before then, an email will go out to the head timers, the timers that are on, as well as the timing Gmail account that everyone has access to, and they'll get a email that says, here are your races, Saturday, here's your race, here's the codex, and here's the password that you need to put into ACA Live. So when you're putting in a codex, you'd go file new race, you'd type in the codex of the race that you're currently working on, and then the password provided, hit submit, and it would load that race into ACA Live.
Can you bring up the Coyote Timing Gmail site? Is that something that you can add to that quickly, or?
Not on this computer. I don't have access to it on.
Not on that computer. Okay.
So we've added the codex that I just created for this race. So we hit OK. And now we do category 2, which is our forerunner categories. So forerunners, it sounds like 4, so we do 401 to 410. We say add 10 forerunners is more than enough. They usually do 3 or 4 forerunners, so we'd have a couple extra if there's any problems. And we say category 2 is done. Are these bib numbers padded? No. Is this a forerunner category? Yes. Are you sure? Yes. And we hit OK. So that was the race parameters for the race. So that sets up all of the configuration to make sure that the race is going correctly. And then now what we do is we go from left to right along the bottom of this, along the bottom of Dietrich, and that will provide you sort of getting ready to time the race. Yeah. So first one that we do is choose device. So we need to choose a timer and display board. So we choose timer. For at Craiglieth, you'll have an Algae S4 RS232, so it's your top left. And we have tried to standardize all of Craiglieth to the same COM ports, but there are some exceptions. We always use COM1 for the timer. So then you would hit OK. But for me, because I have a different timer set up, so I'm going to say Algae Timey, and I'm going to say COM1 and hit OK. So now I have the timer set up. So we can say exit timer. Then we say choose display board. All of the boards that we have at Craiglieth run Algae RTNM. So it's option D. So we say option D, and it will be the highest COM port normally on the computer.
On the pull down list there.
Yes, on the pull down list. So mine is 4 just because of the way that I've set it up, and always 9600. And then we can do a test timer. So or test the display board. So if I put in a bib and a time, you'll see up here on the sort of my de facto display board that we have a display. So we can hit done.
That black screen was not normally on the timing hut computer.
Yes.
But he's just doing that to show, because what we would do, on the weekend is we would look out the window, and on the other side of the hill would be the display board, and you'd be checking what the display board says. Right?
By 2 foot display board, you'll be able to see it from the hut to make sure that everything's working correctly.
Yeah. Okay.
So now we've gotten our devices set up.
And again, the display board is only set up on the system A.
Yes.
Okay. The system B does not send to the display board, so you would only set up in system B. You would only set up the timer, and then you'd move on.
Yep. So next, what we do is we would configure timer. So F3, and what this does is the timing box that we have at Craiglieth, we plug into the A and the B connectors, and those provide us outputs, which we are called channels, to make sure that we know which pulse is a start and which one's a finish. So for Craiglieth, start is SZ and finish is K03.
So this will be a little bit confusing for you when you first see it at the hill. As Cam said, you've got the big black timing box, and on the back of them, in the lower left-hand corner, there's going to be four sets of 2 connections. The black and the green, and they're going to be labeled A, B, C, D. And we always use A for the start and B for the finish. Okay, but the algae timer, being designed by Germans, and they like to complicate things. They can't call the signal that goes into A and the signal that goes into B. They have to call them something else. So they chose to call the A signal is SZ, which I think is German for start, and the B comes in as K03 for no logical reason that we can figure out, but that's just the way it is. So this is just something you have to know. It's not something that you're going to be able to intuitively figure out, and that's the way it is. You always use A and B, and you call them SZ and K03.
Yep.
Okay.
So because of my timer, I just need to put in K0. And then, so that's good. So now we've opened up a lot more of things that we can do. So the next thing that we do is we load racers names. So right now you have bib1 and it says racer1. But to make our lives as timers easier and to make the ACA Live have racers names, we like to load the racers names so that we just have that information and we can double check with a racer's last name or a racer's first name if we have any concern that they might have the wrong bib. So we can
And
go.
who provides the names of the racers?
So that will be the race administrators. So you will get, there will be an email with a measures file or a CSV file that has all of the racers' bibs and names in it.
So I alluded to it before. The computers in the timing huts will have a bunch of icons on them, and there'll be the DTRIS and there'll be the ACA Live, et cetera, et cetera. There's going to be a bunch of different buttons for different things. Two of the buttons will be one will be to a Gmail account that we've set up for the
And
timing.
that's where that
right?
yeah. The code
Exactly.
will-
So Kylie and Steve, or usually
in the
Kylie,
office.
they'll send an email to that Coyote timing account, right? And it'll show up. So if you open up the Gmail account there, it won't be for a specific name. It's to coyotetiming@gmail.com, and
Yeah.
it'll be addressed to us, and it'll have the name of the race, and it'll say that it's the start list for it. And you'll then go through you'll copy it into the directory that you created at the beginning, and then from there you'll be able to load it when you get to this step here.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we're going to use measures file format because that's the example that I have. So we say that we want to load category 1 because that's our racers category. We hit OK. And then I've already put in the 2020 races, the example measures file that I wanted to use. So I just hit open and it will say 40 names were loaded. So that's a good way to check to make sure that we have all the racers. It will pop up and say a bib is missing if there's a problem. If that is a problem, then you have to delete the race and reload it. There's no way to add a bib currently. So we hit OK, and it says, do you want to load these racers' names into ACA Live? And we say yes. And now we have populated all the bibs, their cards, and their names into the ACA Live software. And then from there, we can just say 0 because we want to exit loading racers. So next, what we have to do is we have to do a sync time. So what the sync time is that just make sure that the computer's time is matched to the time that the timing box has. So what you need to do is it just asks to make sure that your timer is connected in time of day. And then do you want to print it to a printer? I don't have a printer connected, so I will say no, but on the computers at Craiglieth, you'd like to say yes.
That was that little printer on the counter between the two computers.
Exactly.
Correct. Yes.
So, and then it will say, please transmit a timer pulse. And so you ask the person at the start to say, open the wand, please. And it will start it and it will it'll sync the time. So now we have the time of day up at the top here. So we can say exit synchronization. Do you want to place this into another file? No. And now we're ready to run a race. So if we go to show categories, we can see the information about the bibs for the categories. And then we can go into time race to start the race. So between races or between runs, DTRIS can't go backwards so if you've started run 2, you can't go back to run 1. So what we do is we create backups before you start run 1 and before you start run 2, just to make sure if anything goes horribly wrong, we have backup in a standardized place so that we can move forward. So do you want to create an exact copy? Yes. And we want to say before race, and we can say okay. And then this is asking if we want to start a new run 1, and we want to start a new run. Do we want to invert run 1's start order? So that means that the last bib will actually run first. We never do that, so we want to say no, we do not want to invert run 1. And then at Craiglieth, you'll click both because you want to print to that printer as well as a log file, but I only have the log file here, so I'm going to say log only. And now we're ready to race. So I can say load category, category 2 for forerunners, Alt-I and A to arm the start and finish, and I can start racer 1. And as you see here, we have display board on and we have ACA live running, but we're not getting any data because this is our forerunners. So I'm going to finish the first forerunner. That all worked great, so we will move on to our actual racers now. So we're going to go F1, load category, enter category 1, and now we're ready to start the race. So
Joanne, you notice in the red, at the bottom, the racer 401, it's in bright red.
Yep.
Okay. Do you know why that is?
No.
Okay. Remember when Cam was setting up, he had the minimum and the maximum times?
Oh yes, and that's less.
Right. So it's only 14 seconds, and we're saying the minimum is 45 seconds. Yeah. So this is basically saying, hey, you said the minimum was supposed to be somewhere around 45 seconds, but you're at 14 seconds. What's going on?
Yeah.
Right. So in our case, we did that on purpose. On a race day, this would be a clue to say, hey, why is this clock finished? And you'd look up on the hill, and the forerunner might still be on course, and you'd see that a parent had skied through the finish or something like that.
Yeah.
So that's just, and the same thing if you go over a minute 15.
Yes.
It would be in red again.
Yeah. And that could be a crash or something like that.
Yeah. Exactly.
Okay, thank you.
So I'm not going to do a lot of playing with the timing screen. Joanne, we did a lot of that on the Sunday that you were there, and like we've said previously, the information's there, and really what it comes down to is making sure that we have the repetition during the race to make sure that that we're going into like F9 is for DNF or F4 is for DNS. So the racer number
you recognize, Joanne, you recognize that those F1, F2, F3 are the F1, F2, F3 at the top of your keyboard.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. Yep.
Yeah. So something that we've discovered the hard way is if you're using the mouse to select stuff like the DNF that Cam is doing right now, it's not a hard connection that exists. And so if you were to you were going to start doing a DNF and you use the mouse to start the DNF, and a racer started and you got a beep, or if a racer came through the finish and you got a beep, it would cancel your DNF dialog. So you would think that you had DNF'd that racer, but they would still be on the screen. If on the other hand you actually press the F9 button on your keyboard, right, that actually starts the dialog and can't be interrupted by another signal. All right, so I basically insist that we all when you're on the computer, you're always using the function keys to do the functions.
And then it asks you which racer you're wishing to do that for.
Yes.
Correct.
Yeah.
I mean, the
Yeah.
screens look the same, but they
Yeah.
don't behave the same. One is, one
So let's
is
chance of error.
subject to interruption. The other one is not.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm just gonna finish up Racer 5. So if I look over at ACA Live, it says here your race is getting correct data.
You
Would
race.
you like to start sending data to ACA Live? And we'll say yes. So now we see a green light and we have data going to ACA Live. So if I go to so you would be able to see the race right here, but because we're doing a test race, I have to go into test races, and I can go to test race 210 Collingwood. This is the information for the race that we're currently running.
Yeah.
So I can finish this racer. And then in about a minute, it'll pop up. Yep. So
Cool.
we've run all of our racers. We've DNF'd all the racers that fell. We've provided times for all the racers that have crossed the finish line. At the end of the race, the chief of course will ask, or the chief of timing will say that we have good times for all racers. At that point, we're ready to move on to run 2. So when we move on to run 2, we do a dump and exit. So we say F10, dump results out to file, yes. So what we are wanting to make sure to do is Kylie or Steve down in the race office needs the run 1 results to make the run 2 start list. So once we finish run 1, we have to export the run 1 data so that they can print off their run 1 start or their run 2 start list. So we want to pick measures ASCII file format. We hit OK. And then we put in the discipline, which is slalom. It's already pre-populated from the race parameters. We want to indicate which race gender. So this race is a male. Is this information correct? Yes. And then we don't want to change the name of this because the software on the other side looks for this particular file format.
Yeah.
So we hit save.
You just want to make sure you're in the correct folder.
Yes.
Right. That's where we usually, if we're going to make a mistake, that's where it is. It's usually, for whatever reason, it hasn't, it doesn't come up in the correct folder, and you end up saving that file to a location that you're not sure where you saved it, and then you go looking for it and it's not there. So just want to make sure you're in the right folder.
And then we need to add which categories we want to dump out. So because we only care about racer data, we only want to dump out category 1. Do you want to append another category? No, we do not. Output complete. So if I go into the 2020 races, test race 2, run 1 det, we can just take a quick look at that. And that just gives you, so it has the bib numbers, the date, and what the race times are. So we have the race data for providing the rate or providing to Kylie or Steve to create the run 2 start list. Now what we have to do as timers is start our run 2 so that we have the correct start list for running run 2. So we'll go into time race and it says, do we want to continue run 1? No. We want to start run 2. Yes, we'd like to start run 2. And then this is what we were saying about having backups before each run so that we have a sort of a milestone during the race if anything fails. So we want to say yes. And then we can say run 1. Hit OK. Once you cannot go back once you start a new run, yes. Did you edit all your disqualifications and appropriate racers in run 1? Yes, we have. We didn't have any, so that's fine. So do you want to sort all categories in run 1 finish order? What we usually say here is no. So
Depends on the race, right? If we're doing FIS races or points races, then yes, you would be. Oh, I see. You're saying in all categories.
yes.
Sorry. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry.
That's fine.
Cancel that.
So we say no for that. So now what it's asking, and then this says sort all categories in start order. And then we say no. And now it's going into and going to say, okay, each category, what do you want to do with it? So we want to sort category 1 in run 1 finish order. Yes, we would. And then how many racers do you want to reverse? So when you do this number will be provided to you beforehand. And what it is that in this example, the top 30 racers will be reversed. So the fastest racer will run 30th and the 30th racer will run first. So that's to give a little bit more of an edge within the top 30 of the field. So for this example, because we only have like 3 racers, I'm going to say we'll just reverse 2. So we'll say okay. Category 2 in run 1 finish order. So the category 2, if you remember, is our 4 runners. So we don't want to run them in finish order.
Yeah, because it doesn't matter.
Yeah. So this is the one that some people get caught up on. It says if run 1 was inverted, you must invert again to make run 2 the same. Because we never inverted run 1, we don't need to invert run 2.
Well, you don't have to, but we quite often do.
Okay.
Right? I mean, in a FIS race, you would be inverting. Oh, sorry, category 2. Yeah, that's your 4 runners.
Yes. So we're not doing anything. So we want them running in start order.
Right.
So we want to say no to this. And then include in category 2 all run 1 racers, whether they did not start, did not finish, not permitted to start, or disqualified. So this is the question that comes up in FIS races. This will be a no, because if a racer doesn't finish their first run, then they're out. But in a lot of our younger races, if they don't finish run 1, they still get a run 2.
Yeah.
But this is category 2. This is your 4-runner category. We didn't get this question for category 1.
Yeah. Hold on.
Yeah, I'm not sure what happened there.
No for category 2, right?
Can you cancel and start over again? Let's look at it again.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. So we're gonna continue run 1. No.
Yep.
And we're gonna start a new run 2. Yes.
Do we want to create an exact copy? No, because we just did that.
We just did that.
Are you sure? Yes. Did you edit all disqualifications and appropriate racers? Yes.
Okay.
Sort all categories in run 1 finish order? No. Sort all categories in run 1 start order? No. Sort all categories in run 1 finish order, or sort category 1 in run 1 finish order? Yes. Reverse 2. Sort category 2 in run 1 finish order? No. Do we want to invert if we invert it again? No. Category 2.
Okay. The reason, because by default, if you're running in finish order, you don't include the DSQs and DNFs. Right? In a FIS race, you don't normally include the DNFs and DNSs. Right?
Yes.
So that's why that question is not presented to you.
Yes.
In other less significant races, you might, where you're not running in finish order, they're doing 2 runs, and they usually, quite often they'll run in the same order. then you would be asked whether you want to include, the people, so that they get a second run for fun or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, so as of right now, and then this is the last sort of check to make sure that everything's correct. So it says category 1 has run 2, or category run 1, run 2 has run 1 finish order with 2 racers reversed. Category 2 has run 2. Category 2 run 2 has run 1 start order, including run 1 racers that didn't finish.
Yeah.
And then it says, is this setup correct? Yes. Last chance. Yes.
Okay, then it's ready to go.
Yep. So I'm going to say log only. So now we have.
Who has the bird?
It's my cat.
Oh, it's your cat. Okay.
Driving me crazy. Go away, cat. And then she walks across the keyboard and across the mouse. Down. There. Okay.
Cam, did we lose you? Hello,
Sorry
Cam.
Yeah, sorry about that.
No problem.
My mute button accidentally got hit. So if.
You probably had a cat walk across your keyboard too.
No, I've locked it
A
out.
bunny, a rabbit or something.
So if between run 1 and run 2, if they have switched courses or have reset the course, then you'll do another forerunner. But if not, then we go into load category, enter category 1.
And then it populates.
Yep. And then we can run our racers. So now what we have here is we have their run 1 time of 48 seconds, their run 2 time of 8, and their total time of 56. And then we have their top 3 racers up here as well.
So the top 3 is like it's combined.
Yes.
So what happens like someone does not finish, but they do run 2, and then their total time is going to be less, obviously, because it's only 1 time.
No.
The software assigns, if you don't finish the first race, it assigns the racer a time of 60 minutes.
Oh, okay. So they put some at the bottom.
Their time is really, really high.
Yeah.
Okay.
But then they can see what their time was for the second one.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. That's
and
good.
and all of the rest of the software, so ACA Live and the results pages don't actually show the 60 minutes. It will show that they did not
Just
start
one
or
run.
that they did not finish, that sort of thing.
Okay. And
So
if someone doesn't show up for a race, that's a do not start
Yes.
or a disqualification.
So if
Do not
someone
start.
does not
Do not
show,
start.
show up, it's a do
Say
not
kid's
start.
sick or something. Yeah. Okay.
So we have taken all of the run 2 racers through. We've given them their correct times, or they have been deemed it did not finish or it did not start. We finished run 2. The chief of timing will say we have good times for all racers, and we start the export process again. So we go F10, dump and exit. Dump results out to file, yes. So we want a measures file, okay. Same thing, so we want slalom and a male race because that's what this race is. Is this information correct? Yes. Race name, make sure that it's in the correct folder. We hit save. Category 1, as that's our standard for which category holds our racer data. So we hit OK. Racers that have been encountered without a run 2 time or without a run 2 status, please indicate what status they should be given. So this is if a racer ran run one, but did not run the second race or the second run, what do we want to show them as? Do we want to show them as a did not start, did not qualify, or none? So usually we just say none because that just doesn't put any status in there for them.
Okay.
Category output, append another category. Nope. Output complete.
Yeah. If we were doing a FIS race, we would actually go through and make sure that anybody who did not run had a DNS
Yes.
status. Just because the measures program looks for it.
Okay.
And after you have sent the run to dat file to the timer or to the folder, and then you have sent that to the race administrator, either through a USB stick, as the race administrator would be sitting right behind you, or through email, through the timing system.
The Gmail thing?
Yep.
Yep, correct.
Then we're good to go. So the last thing that we do is we take all of the data that we've just used. So that's our run one information and the backups that we've had, and we zip it all up into a archive with the same name. And then this zip file gets uploaded to our Coyote timing Google Drive. So what that allows us to do is, if by any chance someone says that they had the wrong time or something went wrong during a race,
If there's any question during the week after everything's shut down and we've gone home,
yeah,
we
during
don't
the
have
week access to it.
Yeah.
To make sure that we can have it.
File.
Yep.
Are you familiar with Google Drive?
Yep.
Yeah. So anyways, remember I said earlier there's two links on the desktop. One is the Google Mail, and the other one is the Google Drive for the Coyote timing. And so you would upload to that.
Yep.
And that's the configuration and changing runs and exporting of data for Dietrich. So, Joanne, I know that you probably have many questions. Is there anything that we can answer right now, or is it more just you want to run through it a couple times?
Yeah, as I said earlier, when I actually see it in action, that'll it'll make more sense. But I looked at the video and I've seen this now, and it's making more sense. Just and I'll watch the next when you put this one out again, just to review it.
Yep.
It'll start to make sense.
So you've gone through those videos that's on the Coyote Drive?
I actually couldn't access them, but I found out from Serge last night why, and I was doing it on my iPad, and I couldn't access them, and there was other stuff that was missing, so I have to do it on my computer, so I'll be able to do that now.
Okay.
They wouldn't show on an iPad, eh?
No. And the schedule, the schedules and that sort of stuff, and like the attendance thing, like none of that stuff came up either. And people were talking about stuff, and I'm like, I don't see this. So I don't know why that is.
Pretty sure that I've accessed the schedule on my iPad.
Yeah.
Well,
Well,
I don't know if it's a setting or something, because they should be platform independent.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I had Robin look at it, and she said it's not there. So anyway, I'll be able to see it on working from the computer.
Okay.
But I did look at the video of this last presentation too. But this other stuff should be there on this. So I'll have a look.
Perfect. So I'm going to stop recording right now, and thank you guys all for attending today.
And
Thank you, Cam.